There I go! Get away from him!
This game is so weird. Oh god. Oh god, he's still... Okay, he's up there now.
What makes a video game horror? Or to rephrase it better, what factors does a game need to meet to be considered a horror game? Is it just monsters?
Jesus Christ!
A disturbing story? Jump scares? Or maybe something else? Well, the short and obvious answer would be that the game would have to make you feel scared, or try to do so at least. There are multiple ways for a game to achieve this goal, which can be divided into 3 main categories. The gameplay itself can be designed in a way to make you feel weak and vulnerable against the enemies you potentially face. A story can give context and meaning to things which otherwise wouldn't be viewed as creepy. But the environment, atmosphere, art style, and overall, the visual and sound design of a video game are the key factors in delivering the true sense of fear. You can easily tell whether a game is horror just by looking at its screenshots, or listening to just a few seconds of the game's audio. Nearly every game developer tries to master all of the 3 factors when making a horror game. I mean, as they should, right? And in the effort of doing so, they might perform very well in all of them, but they usually never achieve perfection in any of the factors, unless they willingly give up 2 factors in an attempt to perfect the other. A sacrifice that a one-man game studio named PG Wave dared to make for their 2022 video game called The Complex Found Footage. As you might have guessed, The Complex is another game that revolves around the concept of the famous internet creepypasta, The Backrooms. In recent years, there have been quite a lot of indie horror games based on this idea, but this game is not only one of the more important ones, if not the most important. For me, it is also one of the most interesting experiences in the horror genre as a whole. And I want to emphasize more on the word experience. You'll see why in a bit. The first and perhaps the most important sacrifice the dev made is the gameplay. The entire game can be completed in just 30 to 40 minutes of playtime. It is, as the developer describes it, a walking simulator. The gameplay only consists of walking, crouching, and the ability to run. And it really shouldn't be anything more than that. In fact, the choices made for the gameplay are truly brilliant. Let me explain. Although the playtime is fairly short, it's not quite the shortest it could be. But if it was any shorter than it already is, the game wouldn't have enough time to fully showcase itself, or make the impact it desired. And if it was any longer, it would get repetitive, boring, and even less memorable. It is long enough to be thoroughly expressed, and short enough to not become boring. For a 3-dimensional game, the ability to move around is almost always the initial step in the development of gameplay, and anything else is added after that. Other than the ability to zoom in and out with the handheld camera, the Complex Found Footage adds 2 basic but super important abilities: running and crouching, which, to the devs' credit, look and feel terrifyingly real. The most obvious reason for this choice is that they add just a bit of variety to make the experience feel less repetitive. But there is more to it than that. The point of running in a video game is mostly to get around faster, but in a horror game, you usually don't want to move fast a lot, unless you're running from something, in which case you're gonna be running fast, like real fast. When a horror game gives you this option in the beginning, it most likely means you're gonna need it in the future, so you will be expecting to find yourself in such situations. The same goes for crouching. You can use crouching to fit in low places, and to hide from or sneak past entities whose attention you don't want to attract. Keep these points in mind. I'll tell you why they matter so much for this game in a couple of minutes. Because of how short and simple the gameplay is, I would say it's less of a game and more of an experience. But it's an experience that is only possible with gaming. The game does not have an official story or even a fan-made lore behind it. The previously made videos and community posts about the backrooms are really the only things that give a general context to the game. However, it has an important plot twist you will only discover after you finish the game. Still, maybe if the game had an actual written storyline, it'd be more meaningful. That sounds like it'd be a better choice for the game to have a story, right? But this game wouldn't be so special if it did have one. And the ultimate goal, the greater good, the thing that was worth sacrificing a complex gameplay and a plot in order for it to reach perfection, is of course the world building. This is the part where the game truly stands out, even compared to a lot of high-budget AAA horror games. It nails every little aspect of its environment design. Every choice is made masterfully to create a work of art with a purpose to consistently give the player that sense of unease, terror, fear of what they might encounter, of a danger they know exists, but can't quite pinpoint what it exactly is. The fear of the unknown. The visual effects of the VHS camera, the constant irritating noise it captures, the low resolution of its images, the extremely natural movements of a handheld camera, they are there not just to seem creepy, but to give you the feeling that you are just a normal, imperfect human, trapped in an unknown environment and struggling to get out. You are not a hero, nor a dramatic protagonist in the traditional sense. It makes the situation more relatable and therefore more terrifying. From the details seen in the game's world, it is reasonable to say that it's not entirely based on the videos and descriptions of the Backrooms' original lore. It's not trying to be a meaningful, lore-accurate Backrooms game. Rather, the developer's interpretation of the concept of Backrooms. During my playthrough, I encountered quite a few interesting objects and oddities, which left me wondering if there was any sort of meaning behind any of it. I was trying to make sense and come up with a theory of my own for all of the phenomena I had seen. I even searched the internet to see whether there was at least any context to it all, but it was to no avail. Then I came to my senses. Things don't need to have a meaning in order to be creepy. Art is not necessarily about meanings. It's about conveying a feeling. Every little characteristic of this game complements each other to give you an experience that you will not forget. The gameplay mechanics cause you to always be expecting an encounter of some sort, maybe a monster or entity chasing after you. You'll always think twice before passing through a doorway or a tight opening. Everywhere you go, you check every corner or look back to see if you can find that damn thing that you swear is out there hunting for you. You're expecting to be jumped by something at any point during the playtime, and you carry that thought until the end of the game. When it is over, you are left with a realization. There was no monster or enemy hunting after you. The stakes were high, but not as high as the Backrooms videos showed it to be. It was all in your mind. That's the beauty of psychological horror, and this free-to-play game demonstrates it immaculately. The sacrifice made by the developer reminds me of the famous Queen sacrifice by Bobby Fischer during the Game of the Century. Bobby could have won that game without making such a bold move, but then it wouldn't be as memorable and important. As for the complex, if the gameplay had given you any more abilities than it already does, it would have taken away that sense of vulnerability. If it was any simpler, it wouldn't have caused the important psychological effect it currently does. Either way, it would ultimately diminish the sense of horror it was trying to convey. and it would actually be very easier for the developer to make a horror game where the horror comes from the story and creepy meanings behind things. The game might have still turned out good, but certainly not as impactful. This game, for me, is one of the most memorable experiences I've had so far. It showed how creative and brave an indie horror developer can be to make choices that seem abnormal in order to achieve something extraordinary. You won't remember it by an amazing story and character design, or an engaging and intense gameplay. You'll remember it by the feeling it left you with, by the mental state you had during your playthrough. What? Oh, they made another game too? That's cool. That I'm looking forward to play and potentially make a video about PG Wave's newer game, The Complex Expedition. From what I can see, it seems that it leans more towards the original lore of the Backrooms, but that's a subject for another video. That's it for this one. We'll catch you later.